Let's talk to Mark Klecka. He is the president of Klecka Tax Resolution. In addition, he is a radio host as well, an author. His radio show is called Taxing Time. His website is kleckalaw.com. We're going to talk taxes. We're going to find out what to do. Mr. Klecka, welcome to the show.
Hello, Bill. Nice to be with you again. Thanks for the invite. And let's talk about some income taxes because it's that time of year again.
Well, it is, and taxes, regardless of the time of year, we always have to be on top of them. And if we don't, we know that we get into some kind of trouble if we're not paying attention. And our audience here, of course, real estate professionals, by and large, are independent contractors. And we know that there's many other people that are independent contractors. And we also know that we all have to take care of our taxes in a proper manner. So let's tell people first, Mark, about your company and what you do.
Okay, my company is Klecka Tax Resolution. What I deal with people with IRS tax problems. They're having balances due with the IRS, tax audits, or even worse, if they haven't filed their taxes in several years and are behind in their tax filing. So we deal with people with IRS tax problems, and we work to get those problems resolved and roads towards getting it behind you and out of your life.
Well, that is so important, and I want to hit that a little bit later in the show, but it always astounds me when I talk to you that there are actually people not filing their taxes. But I hope that's the minority. But let's talk about the people that are independent contractors. We're starting off a brand new year, and if they have been lax in taking care of their record keeping. Let's hit that because I think real estate professionals sometimes have trouble with knowing what the right record keeping is and even keeping on top of it.
Right. Well, the best way to do that, the number one thing they need to focus on, and most, it's not just real estate professionals, but everyone, are the infamous mileage log about you, because that's usually the biggest one. One of the bigger write-offs that people want as far as being a self-employed person. They want to write off their mileage when they, travel to clients or show houses or whatever they do. And it has to be properly accounted for. And, when we go, our experience shows is that when you go to the audits, the first thing that the IRS auditor asks for invariably is the mileage law and the mileage records. And why is that? Because it's the hardest one to keep. And if the IRS auditor sees that you're not very good in your record keeping in that area, then that auditor starts going, well, I wonder how the other records are, what the other records look like. And so it sort of raises their eyebrow. But if the mileage log is kept in good order, everything like that, then they can say, well, I'll bet you that person is a pretty good record keeper. And so they are more inclined to, see that, let things sort of roll on through the rest of the audit. But it gives them it's a good first impression is what it is. But, what people need to do is during the year, I tell them two things. They need to get you can buy it at an Office Depot store or office supply store or whatever, and get one of those expandable folders and put a label for like meals and entertainment, supplies, et cetera, and as you gather those receipts, you organize those and you put them into the expendable binder so that you have them organized. So,
as far as the record keeping, mileage is paramount. As you're saying, that creates an impression if you do have an audit. Number two what other record keeping things should an independent contractor have?
Well, you should be keeping your record supplies, any meals, business meals. Now, business meals have gone up in the new tax law. So that's somewhat important now because business meals are now 100% deductible. That has changed for the year 2021.
That's good.
So this coming up this year, that's a big change and a big help for people who are self-employed. Why did they do it? Because of the pandemic and the negative impact on restaurants. So, i.e., that's sort of why it happened. There's always a reason as to why something was changed, and that's the reason for that particular item changing. But, as far as a self-employed person or somebody in the real estate industry, that's some area that they're going to be able to take some advantage of. So, but they need to document, who, what the business purpose of the meal was, time, et cetera, date and everything like that. Of course, your supplies, advertising, any licenses that you have, continuing education, all those type of expenses you need to document, but they are deductible against your business income because it's used for the development or the production of that income.
And that is a good point, because real estate professionals, like the tax law, things are changing all the time, and the real estate professional is on a regular basis having continuing education courses and things like that all year long. Let me talk, you mentioned the word audit. Now that brings fear to people. I also know on your radio show, which is called Taxing Times, there are different kinds of audits. Let's enlighten people as to the basic types of audits that there are.
Sure. Well, there are many different kinds of audits. One is, it's truly, they don't really classify it as a per se audit, but it really is. It's when you get a letter in the mail and it says up at the top right-hand corner, CP or CatPaw 2000, CP 2000. And it's saying we can't find some records mismatched. We have records in our system that you did not put on your tax return. Please reply as to either, there's a mistake, you did report it somewhere else, et cetera, we couldn't track it, or, we need to pay that. So it's something that is sort of a mail, a correspondence back and forth in the mail. But don't discount that, because if you fail to respond to that, they will send you a letter back saying, okay, you've got 90 days to file a petition with tax court, or you agree with our numbers. So you don't ignore these letters. You need to respond to them. That's the biggest mistake people make, is they shove it in a drawer and they think it'll go away. No, you need to actively respond to it. Say, okay, I'm going to meet the problem head on. I'm going to respond to this and return the documents back to them. When you're returning documents back to them, I always tell people my rule is certified, return receipt requested. If you don't, then you said I mailed them, and the IRS says you didn't. And so he said, she said. That doesn't work very well on your behalf. So I always tell people, if you're going to send something, make sure they do have a fax number that you can fax this information to now on some of these letters. So that's something that you could avail yourself of, and make sure you get that happening. So that's one. Another one is an actual correspondence audit, which is more of a formal audit. And it'll say something like that. It'll say a correspondence audit. And it's just basically asking you to send them some of your backup documentation and records. And once again, it's dealt with through the mail. And so that's another type of audit. And then there, of course, is the full-blown audit where, we're going to be auditing certain areas, and we're going to be meeting now because of the pandemic world or something. This may be a virtual audit, in some way, shape, or form, used Zoom or some other type of transmission facility to do that. However, it's going to be an audit whereby, your items are going to be checked out. And I always tell people when they're going to go do this and they're gathering all this, anything you say can and will be used against you. It's a civil investigation of your taxes. And, you need to take it in that vein and not just go in there and just walk in and just think, well, I'm just going to sort of dance around and,
What we're gathering here, there's two things. Detail is important. Documentation is important. And like you said, that face-to-face audit, I would think they will have those at some point in the year. Like you're saying, they're doing it Zoom-wise or otherwise. But I guess we can call that an eyeball-to-eyeball mark, huh?
And, that's the audit whereby, you're saying, well, how many of these audits have you participated in? And you're going, well, that would be probably none or maybe one or something like that. Well, the person sitting across from you, that's what they do for a living. So they deal with it every day. And they're trained, and they go to training in what is called police interrogation tactics. They try to loosen you up, try to, get you to talk, and you talk, and you might talk about things that they had no idea about asking you about, but then all of a sudden, you bring it to light, and, oh, well, maybe we ought to talk a little bit about that. So, things like that, as you open your mouth, you should answer the questions that you're asked honestly and truthfully, but you're not there to volunteer a whole bunch of additional information to be Mr. and Mrs. Gabby, a lot of people go in there the first time. Oh yeah, he was a real nice person, or she was a real nice person, and we got along. And there's no problem. And then they come back a couple of months later, and it's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. People they're sort of like Joe Friday.
Well, you're reading my mind.
What the heck happened here or something.
Yeah. Well, when you said that, as you were saying this, I'm thinking right before you said Joe Friday, I was thinking of the show, Just the Facts, right? Just the Facts, man.
Yeah.
That's what Joe Friday used to say. For those listening and don't know who Joe Friday is, you must be very young. But yes, just the facts. And also, these are things on an audit, you are helping people. Sometimes you are there with them. Is that correct? That's part of your services.
Right. Well, actually, we encourage them not even to appear. We can appear on your behalf, and absent being summoned to appear, that we can represent on your behalf. You don't even need to be there in the room. We will gather, we organize all the records and everything like that, and we go through it and produce them and go through them, and you're not needed to be sitting there in the room, and so therefore, you can forego that pleasure, get on with your life, doing something else with your business. We deal with that, so your representative can represent you in your place, and you do not have to physically be there. And now if they want to summons you, yes, they can summons you to talk or something like that, but you can come and are required to appear, but you're not required to volunteer a whole bunch of information. Once again, you just answer questions straightforward. The problem is that people are not familiar with this. Number one, they're either intimidated, or number two, they think they're going to be able to blow their way through it or something like that. They have a false sense of their own security or whatever it is. And
as far as the IRS, I did have an experience with them, and they were very nice. And that was, I don't know, probably 8 years ago. I know you run into this, where my identity was taken, and someone already filed my tax return. So my tax provider says, hey, I can't file that. It's already been done. So long story short, I actually went to an IRS office here in Houston, and they helped me right away, and they were very nice. So,
well, especially identity theft, they take that very seriously. And so, if you're involved in identity theft, definitely work with them and get the situation resolved, and they will work towards you in that end because they know that you didn't do it.
And we are talking with Mark Klecka. He's the president of Klecka Tax Resolution, also a radio host of the show Taxing Times, heard every weekend. You can go to kleckalaw.com. That's KLECKA law.com. You'll find the coordinates. You'll find past shows. If you like to hear about all the stuff that's happening, Mark fills us in on a regular basis. And, of course, like I said, you can hear the past shows. Anything else we need to know about 2021 that's going to affect the independent contractor?
Yeah, well, one big thing that was just announced just a week ago or something, beginning in February, and this was in the IRS announcement, that they're going to increase audits of small business self-employed people by 50% in 2021. And that includes, people, Schedule C's, so real estate professionals, people like that, came directly from the top man. So, that's what's going to be going on there. And then going on in 2021, that's why we tell people that you got to keep tuned into Taxing Times and see what's going on, because there'll be potentially a bunch of tax law changes. They usually after the year after a presidential election, there usually are a lot of tax law changes. I do not know, what's going to be happening, and but there'll be a whole bunch of rumors and things like that going around. But until you see the final draft and the final signature of the book, you're not going to be able to say that this is what the change is definitively going to be. So
we don't know.
There will be changes probably. I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't. So you need to stay abreast of what's going on and how it affects you in your life and your family's life.
And Mark, let me ask you this. It dawns on me, real estate in Houston and actually around the United States, especially this last, not 10 months, let's say, has been very good. Real estate professionals are making more money than ever. So my question is, especially in 2020, real estate professionals that have been doing well, income-wise, Some are doing a whole lot better, sometimes twice as much as their commission. 2021 is starting off the same kind of way. So how does the IRS look at the amount of income? Do you know, as far as the audits, like, hey, this person's making 400,000, 500,000, 600, 200, whatever it is? Do they look at income and say, hey, we're going to look at that group more or not?
Well, they look at it, supposedly they look at it based on the higher income, but they have a computer score that they are it's very secretive. They don't like to hide. They don't like to.
It's the secret sauce.
How they do it. Yeah. And so they like to, on how the selection is called a diff score. It used to be called a diff score. It's called something else now. But anyway, what they look at is your income, your deductions, your zip code, where you live, lifestyle, etc. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. That's when you get selected. So it depends on, how the scoring goes. So,
well, Mark, thank you so much for being on the show. And let's tell people how they can reach out to you. It's KleckaLaw.com is the website, KLECKA law.com. And also, let's tell them the phone number there, Mark.
Okay, the phone number, 844-400-TAXS. That's 844-400-TAXS. And you just dial that number. That's how you get a hold of me, at 844-400-TAXS. Our email is just kleckalaw, KLECKALAW, at SMARKCPA.com. So there's lots of ways to get a hold of us. There's our website, the 1-844-400-TAXS, and, email. So, but you really need, if you have a problem, you need to take the first step. The first step is you've got to pick up the phone or start sending a message to your computer to say, I need some help. And so that's when we can get to work for you.
No doubt about it. Document details, all those things, and call Mark Klecka at 844-400-TAXS. Mark, thank you for being on the show.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Thank you very much.